Hello again. This is lesson 12 in the series on the 8th programming language. Today we are going to talk about arrays in 8th. It's just part 1 because there is more to say. You could say that an array is a special form of a variable. Instead of just one value, you can store a lot of values in it. Normally you would require a separate name for each slot, but that is not the case for an array. You only need to name the variable, which is pointing to the array, and the index, where the element is stored in the array. So what can you do with arrays? You can define arrays, for example an empty array. You just use square brackets to specify an empty array, and you assign that empty array to a variable. It's just a normal variable, what we defined here. It happened to point to an array. That's what is the real case. You can also define an array with initial values, like so. Between the square brackets we notate the different elements of the array. In effect, an 8th variable can be a pointer to an array. A variable points always to something. The variable itself doesn't have a type, but the thing it points to does have a type. So in our case, in this case, it points to an array. We have to dereference a variable using the at word, and then you point directly to the thing the variable points to. And when that value happens to be an array, you have to dereference that array as well, using the element number. It's a bit tricky, of course. In languages like C or Java, you can reference array elements like so. The name of the array and then the element number between square brackets. Now that is really different in 8th. In 8th, you start to mention the variable, then you dereference that variable, and then you get to the value it points to. When that value happens to be an array, you then can dereference the array using the element number and then the special word defined in 8th, namely a:@. So effectively you first dereference a variable using the at. Then you use the number of the element to be retrieved. And finally you use the a:@* word to retrieve the corresponding element value. I've set up a little comparison. You could compare it with a chest of drawers. When you need something in drawer number 3, you must first reference or go to the specific chest, which corresponds to the array. Then you use the number of the drawer, here the number 3. And finally you open that drawer and retrieve its contents. That's what happens. Okay, here a small example in the REPL. I use .s a lot of times just to show that the stack can change, and I want to know how. Okay, we define a new variable called a. That variable is being assigned an array, namely the array 10, 11, 12 and 13. We can retrieve the variable, and when we do that, a:@.cr, we see the array is present. Okay, so a points to an array. And then finally we are going to retrieve element number 3 in the array which A points to. And that is done by A at 3 A colon at. And then you have the element value 13. By the way, you can see that 13 is the 4th value in the array. So 8th happens to number array elements starting with 0. So 13 is element number 3 in 8th terms. Okay? Just the steps again. We define an array with 4 elements. We dereference the variable and get to the value which appears to be a 4-element array. Then we dereference the array element number 3 using the word A colon at. And it appears that element 3 is number 13, which means that 8th uses index 0 for the first element. It would be nice if you would look up the A colon at word in your manual, because the reference is left on the stack, the reference to the array in step 7. You could go on referencing other elements. Okay, that's today's lesson. You can go to the 8th website for more information. Also, there is a very friendly and nice forum where every question will be answered soon. I have also an 8th blog with corresponding material, which is at the8thevangelist.blogspot.nl. Thank you for listening.